Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and special snowflakes internet. I'm Dan, and I want to talk about in this video thing that's been on everyone's tongue the past week, but I have not been able to do because personally I've been very busy, and that's the Evergreen College incident. Now, those of you who've been living under a rock, let me explain what happened. Evergreen College, which is somewhere near Seattle, Washington, is a very progressive college to the point where you can really just pick whatever word that you want to in the dictionary and that ends up being your major. So if you want to major in pizza, you can major in pizza. Anyway, there's a kind of tradition of as a yearly walkout where non-white students, white people of color, which that always gets would not come to school for that day in solidarity of things like Jim Crow laws and the kind of laws that used to exist in my state. Believe it or not, California, the beacon of liberalism as it's supposed to be, used to have laws that were quite racist, and not just against black people, but against Hispanics and Asians. I mean, we did have the internment camps here, like Manzanar. A lot of people forget about that kind of stuff. It's very important to our nation's history. It's one of the smudges. So, normally this event is supposed to be this walkout or not showing up to school is voluntary. However, somebody suggested, at least some of the students, that they should make it so that no white student or professor should show up to school on that day in almost an enforced way. Now, a professor by the name of Weinstein said no. He was biology. He said this is stupid. This is just like 1940s. It triggered all the progressive faculty and students. They cornered his ass and started saying, ho, 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 no, these racists have got to go. Now, what's funny to me is that they wanted to force this whole mandatory, not voluntary, but mandatory white expulsion, which is racism. But of course, the social justice warriors will agree racism is power plus prejudice. Well, the fact that these students have fucking taken over the University of Kansas would indicate they have power. So, by their definition, it is racism because they have the power and are being prejudiced. Now, some really hardcore, some like Tariq Nashik or Ghazi Kodo, like, no, that's not how it works. You can't do it because they don't like it when you start using their own definition against them. Try using it against your parents. They don't like it. So, I personally agree with Weinstein. I think it's stupid that you should be telling people they can't show up to school, especially if they wanted to. So, because of his sanity, they want to get him fired. They stormed the principal's, or I guess you call him the dean's office, and pussy whipped that motherfucker. I mean, this guy looked like he was like, oh no, oh, I can't see my hands right now, but he was like, you know, cringing in the corner from the pain, like he was being abused. And the bastard's like, oh, I'll do whatever you want. And they wanted to basically get full credit for their get all good A's because they didn't like the teacher. They also wanted to have the teacher suspended with no pay. So the fact what he did is not a criminal act and doesn't violate school standards. This is just them trying to throw their weight around because they think they're so freaking awesome. Because, oh, where these students and many of these kids who were doing this weren't even like black or some of these kids were white. And it's kind of sad to see this because these kids are, I'm going to say kids because they're literally acting like children, mostly come from rich families or at least upper middle class families. People who can afford to send their kids to liberal arts universities. Did I mention it was a liberal arts university? Because it's a freaking liberal arts university. And that's the kind of shit you get out of, especially when people are told that patriarchy is causing anything. Like, it's a goddamn fucking conspiracy theory. Like, it's for if I hear the word patriarchy or it's race, systematic racism, I swear, all I imagine are some guys in a boardroom with you can't see their faces and they've got their tinted fingers like they're some playing the goddamn world. That's the way these people fucking talk. Like there's some cabal going, ooh, we're gonna make shit bad for the black man, and then we'll oppress the women. That's what really is going on. No, it's fucking not. The sad part is many of these kids are talking about a race issue, blah blah blah. Most of these issues are not see race related, though there is an element of race in there. The issue actually is largely class based. It's about socioeconomics. It's also about attitude. I'll use an example recently. If you look at the attitudes or even dress, okay, to say cops tend to go after a certain look, not ethnic look, but way of dress because that signals something. I hate to say it, but perception is 9/10 of reality. If you dress like a thug, the cops are gonna think you're a thug. If you dress really nice and maybe if you're just like a metalhead, they're gonna go, this guy's a metalhead, and they might even think you're up to shit because cops used to bust punks and metalheads. But if you dress, in a polo shirt or maybe just a regular t-shirt, you look very clean cut, they're probably gonna go, no. Especially if you're like freaking like these kids, just like fucking with Che Guevara, they think, oh, these are just like bratty kids. And the problem again, it's not race, it's socioeconomic. And these kids, again, have been brainwashed by professors who need to keep their fucking job because if, God forbid, people realize the fucking truth. You know what? Honestly, this is this point I actually really think there is a damn conspiracy theory for uber, uber liberal professors, or, sorry, radically uber, I think that'd be the more appropriate term, to keep their fucking jobs because if they can't, pump out their fear mongering about, you know, patriarchy or the white man keeping the brown man down, then they got no job because, you know, if they basically become obsolete because once people go, hey, why do we need to know all these things? Because if they can't push their ideology, they'd have to actually teach something. In African American studies and women's studies actually legitimately have to just be about, you know, what happened. Like, oh, this is just famous women. This is just we're famous African American. These are famous Chicanos. These are famous Asians. Oh, these are famous events dealing with them. Which sounds more like something you'd find in a history course instead of a standard humanities. I know history is a humanities, but history is based on facts and events, and there is a certain amount of speculation on ancient history, like what people would dress or spoke like. But but in this case, mainly souls just would end up having to leave, and they would have to deal by people who actually deal in facts, like historians. Who okay, they don't always deal in facts. I mean, ancient aliens. Although I don't consider those guys really historians. I mainly came up, sorry, again, I'm going to say this, that it came up actually inspired by something that happened to me at work. And not in a bad way. I actually work for a government agency. We have our yearly meeting where we do like updates on like policy and stuff like that because, we interact with the public. So we just wanted to, check out everything. The thing they talked about, honestly, was equal opportunity employment. And I realized that many of these kids are going to go into jobs where they're going to be hired based on their, you know, oppression. Like, if you haven't watched like Wizard of Coz's video on unions, how a lot of union heads are not people who've come up through the system. They're not like for the service seekers union. They're not people who are service workers who like, well, I paid my dues and I'll be my shop steward. No, there a lot of them are people who are hired because, oh, they're clearly educated. A lot of them using as stepping stones to whatever freaking social justice shit they're gonna do, like working for everyday feminism, which I'm glad to say is going into the fucking toilet. But kids are under the impression that, the white man's problem, and they don't. And these unions don't typically hire a lot of white people because somehow they want to seem like they're being diverse, when the true key to diversity is in fact not hiring race, and instead doing what is known as EEO, equal employment opportunity. And I work for a local government agency, and I work for a large national company that basically do it that way. It's, like, hey, if you can do the job, great. And in fact, in our slideshow, they basically point out that things are done based on merit and work record. Why the fuck is that not the most important thing? Can you do the job? Yes. Can you do it well? Yes. Then come on, work. That's what I want. That's how I believe in. I believe if you can fucking get the job done, you get that job done. Fuck what you look like. Fuck what you believe in. And my only criteria is, hey, you can't show up for, Friday and Saturday, then, well, you're not going to get those hours, you're not going to get paid, and maybe there's a holiday that falls on a Friday, and they get, holiday pay when you get none. Sorry, that's just how the fucking world works. That's been my rant about this whole godforsaken mess this week. I honestly, I was watching a video where a mom basically, this is back during the Baltimore riots, where a mom comes just whacking this kid who's dressed up basically like an Antifa guy. And this is Antifa before it went mainstream. So fucking hipster ninja. Basically saying, why the fuck are you embarrassing me? I'm like, someone send that mom to beat the sense out of all these kids. Like, yell, or at least someone send the parents up to say, you're fucking embarrassing me. But I'm pretty sure, no, these parents have never disciplined their kid, never done something as much as others paddled, or even done something maybe not necessarily damaging that caused pain, or maybe does cause pain, but in a more productive way. My dad used to have me do push-ups and wall squats when I misbehaved. Why? Because he figured that by doing that, either he was going to make me listen to him, or I was going to have the best arms in the whole damn neighborhood. My name is Dan, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.